good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
We are bad.
Yes, and we have a wonderful conversation about Dee-1, an inspirational, motivational artist from down in New Orleans, and we have Lecrae. You know where Lecrae is from?
Texas, and I believe Houston.
Okay, from Houston, Texas. Also inspirational, also motivational. Two God-fearing men responding to Kendrick Lamar's "The Day the Party Died" song, where Kendrick Lamar mentions them in his song. And so both artists have shared their thoughts through song. They shared their thoughts through interviews and on social media. And so we want to take the time to kind of unpack those thoughts. And basically, we just want to say how Dee-1 and Lecrae have taken it a little bit one step further than Kendrick did in the beginning. But before we jump into that, we want to talk about our Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/NROR podcast and then join for $5 a month, where you just got to break the fourth wall. I'm going to throw some things at you. Where's some things that I can throw? Join for $5 a month and get the full episode unedited, no cuts, nothing like that. You just get to see our full conversation in 4K. So I'm excited about that. Go ahead and join the Patreon. The link is down in the description. So are you ready to have this conversation?
I am indeed ready to have this conversation. It's very interesting because I was not expecting music from either of them.
Yeah. I think we're going to call it like it is.
Oh, man, I have so many thoughts. It's an interesting thing in regards to like Dee-1 and Lecrae, because I think they are both very polarizing Christian artists. In the way that they go about making music. I think Lecrae has always garnered a certain level of attention. I especially remember like either it was Church Clothes, like 3 or 2, where he had a couple of industry features. He does have a song with Rick Ross. On that, he had a song with No Malice, which I was really excited about that because that was like, clips. That's literally what I was like,
you always give me nice footage to work with.
Yo. Oh, man.
So let's just get into it. So I think we should start first with Lecrae's drop, Die for the Party.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more calm in its tone and its theming. So where do you want to start with that? How did you feel about that song the first time you heard it?
I felt good about it. I've always felt good about Lecrae's music. I think that he toes the line, or not toes the line, but he does the duality of living as a Christian and the fact that you still make mistakes, and then making music that is inspirational and talking about how he worked through those things. Mm-hmm. So it comes off as a person that actually cares about you versus coming off preachy, as we talked about before, which is why we enjoyed Kendrick Lamar's "When the Party Died" so much in the beginning. It's because it doesn't come off that way. But what did you think about it on your first listen?
I think I really I listened to it a few times. At first, I was wondering why he was motivated to make this, but he speaks about that in the beginning. And so, he said, I was wrestling to write a verse, and he was concerned about being too clout chasey, and this is something that he speaks about in on his podcast, where he felt like his relationship with Kendrick Lamar was something that he didn't want to mention until it was the right time, because mentioning it will make people believe that he's clout chasing. I think that's a kind of a anxiety riddled sort of thing. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be out here sort of like milking the name of Kendrick Lamar, obviously, but if you have a real relationship and it's a natural opportunity to state that you have a real relationship and it doesn't violate Kendrick's trust, why not?
I think because of the stance of him being a Christian rapper, and then it's one of those where people throw stones at glass houses in a way of like, oh my God, you hang with someone that does secular music. What?
Yeah, but who's going to be the most likely to judge him for that?
The same people that he's making music for. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's weird, right?
He has gone through this so much, especially like on Twitter, like, because he'll have a tweet and they will be murdering him or trying to in the comments.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that comes from for him, because when you are a artist, I mean, I talk about it on my album, it's just like you're always dealing with that perception, right? Like, what can I say and what can I say?
You should be above everybody's standards. And that's so weird, because we don't do that to other faiths. At least to my knowledge, we don't do that to other faiths. But I think that's, part and parcel, because Christianity has judged a lot of other people. Not as a collective, right? Because we can't judge the individual based off of the way some bad actors respond in Christianity. Yeah. But what happens?
And I like that, because they are actors.
Preach. But people in the church have come off as higher than other people.
Yeah.
Whereas that doesn't reflect the entire body of the church. And then people are outside of the church are going to say, well, you're not holding yourself up to this really high bar. Yeah. And you're not perfect. So how do you have an opportunity to say anything? It's the Kirk Franklin effect. Bruh. You remember that from our childhood?
Man, listen, I could talk so much about how not just Kirk Franklin, but
do you
Fred
want a
Hammond,
revolution?
like, they changed everything in terms of the conversation. And you remember how it's the same thing. I remember these eras, and this is why it's so important that Dee-1 and Lecrae exist, because when you get Mahalia Jackson, right, when we're talking about like how people respond, when you started adding soul into gospel music, they didn't like that.
Right.
Like they're
and blues and
like. Yeah. And it was when it was just, it needs to be higher than thou.
It's hymns.
Yeah, like it had to be like clean, pristine hymns that have no mention or no emotional tie to them whatsoever, right?
Right.
So then go ahead.
And that's where like I felt most comfortable is when Kirk Franklin was introduced to, our choir. And as kids, we were like, yo, this is jamming. Yeah. And this still speaks to me. And when we brought it to our church, we did have some of that response. Why are these kids doing this hippity hop thing with the screaming man on
with the screaming man?
He's doing all the ad libs in the song.
But this is to bring up a Pokemon reference. Well, for me it is.
Oh gosh.
The evolved form of that, right? It's the evolved form. It's the final evolution, if you will.
Who's that? Jesus, man.
But you see how people are like, or at least with Lecrae, because that was more so my point on why he's so calculated with mentioning the Kendrick stuff. they have been so on his back that he is still very devout and stands firm in what he believes in, but I think he tries to be a bit more careful when he's being open, and he's been doing the podcast, bringing in a lot of people of faith and other people that he just chops it up with and just has a real earnest conversation. Whereas Dee-1,
Hold up. Before you get into that, because I don't want to segue into a long Dee-1 conversation,
Okay.
and then
okay, well we'll get back. We'll get to the we'll finish the Lecrae portion of it. Lecrae is just, to me, very calculated and always, in my opinion, leading with the love that you should lead with when you're trying to discuss these tough topics.
yeah, the way I see it is he's also like Kendrick Lamar, making
Yes.
an observation of himself and of his environment, and to your point, he is more of a realistic version of Christianity, or people that walk in Christianity, because he is unafraid to say that I am imperfect.
Yeah.
I think he even says it closer to the end of this rap, that, like, I'm walking in sin, basically, is what he gets at. And my savior is here to like take care of me because of that sin. And so but it's still a personal observation. It's not a judgment on everybody else.
Right.
And that's where I think Lecrae does stand out in his observation and takes it a little bit further than Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick is saying, look, the party is the pop life, the people that go to the people
Diddy
that
parties.
I was trying to go this whole episode without mentioning that.
Baby oil.
And nope.
Johnson & Johnson.
Nope.
Do you have a statement, Mr. Johnson?
Before this episode started recording, I said one word about him, and you were like, I'm about to go home. My only statement is it's wrong.
100%.
So let's move on.
All right, go ahead.
The issue that Kendrick Lamar is speaking about is primarily that the folks like Drake, they will go and make music, but then they'll hang out with, well, the way that Lecrae puts it is he'll go to a Leo DiCaprio party. Mm-hmm. He'll go to this thing, and he's the type of person, or they are the type of people that will hang out at the party and not go home back to their regular lives. So that's the way Lecrae puts it, and that's what Kendrick is talking about.
Yeah.
Is that when I'm done making this music, I'm going back to my life. I'm going back to my kids. I'm going back to my wife.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. Hide your wife. Hide your. No, I was kidding. But it just popped up in my head. But like, I'm going back to normal.
Yeah.
Because touching on this industry is slightly abnormal, and so that's where Lecrae takes it a little bit further.
Yeah. And I appreciated that. As a person listening to the song, I've always appreciated, like, there's a vulnerability, and always, like, I mean, there's a vulnerability and a target that is always on your back, given Christianity's tumultuous history with people.
Right.
Or at least the bad people that do bad things and do not represent the things that should be represented.
Yeah, more plainly spoken, like what we said earlier in this conversation, right? The pocket of Christianity that is transgressing on the rest of the world.
So doing this way was, I think, the most excellent way to respond. And it's almost like responding as an altar call versus like, hey, you did the preaching. And it's not like it wasn't preachy, but you did the sermon, I should say. Now, granted, you preaching a sermon, but anyway, whatever. I think that like bringing the people in and bringing them into like your heart's desire was a better way than the other side of how this was handled to me.
So let's really like call it like it is and get to Dee-1's response, because it's almost night and day. And he does a great job with like showing the Reebok soldiers.
Yeah.
Did you ever have those?
No.
You didn't want the soldiers?
No. Like I wanted the Jordan 13s, the Jordan 16s, and Air Force Ones.
Yeah. But it's night and day on the cover because Lecrae has the white shoes. Mm-hmm. Kendrick had the black Air Force Ones. Mm-hmm. And now Dee-1 brings it home to New Orleans and he has the Reebok soldiers on his cover for Call It Like It Is. And that's exactly what he does. He calls it like it is on this song. And I say it's night and day because he is more direct. Mm-hmm. He says that, you know, these people are having a whole, basically they're just out here wilding. They shouldn't be wilding.
Yeah.
And I'm not for it.
Okay, so here's my couple quick notes on how I felt first listening to the song, and I think that's where we should at least start with it, right?
Call it like it is.
I was like, okay, I was kind of expecting something similar to Lecrae's because I listened to Lecrae's first. And then when we get into it, it's like, oh, okay. You are like stirring the pot, but not in a way that I think will get the results that you want. It's going to get a conversation for sure, but it's going to continue to be this aggressive conversation. Even if the things you're saying, like you care for people, you want whatever, whenever you go back to the whole, this is why they won't take us serious and all those other comments, people tune you all the way out.
Yeah, this is it becomes a us versus them sort of thing where there's this part of the culture that wants us to sort of, well, he wants people in the culture to grow up.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't want us to. And he also believes that like there's a lane for individuals who don't rap about the streets and or even pretend to rap about the streets if you're not about that life.
And I also think it's just like, and I get where he's going because it's not like he's specifically talking to people because he's more so talking to the artists themselves. So he's always talking to like the artists where it's like, y'all are the ones who are continuously doing this. You're poisoning our community and wondering why all of these things are going on. It's everything that you do because you are the viewpoint by which people see us, right?
Yeah, he elaborates on that with an interview he does with Bootleg Kev.
Yeah,
where he says that like, hey, you know, I had this conversation about Rick Ross because Rick Ross said that like, hey man, I just, you know, I get out here and I pass out turkeys every Thanksgiving, and so that should make my message, you know, okay. You know what I mean?
Like, well,
I sort of repent by by passing out turkeys.
That is a wild statement.
But I mean, that's what it is, though.
It is. What's funny?
Call it like it is. I'm not gonna say that anymore.
Come on, man. I've been trying to keep it PG.
That's not what this episode is about. You brought up Diddy, by the way, so
I did. I'm trying to like think about it from this context, right? You end up in a situation where these artists never feel encouraged to make full songs about the stuff that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
You know, Killer Mike doing Michael, I think is probably like the closest representation we have of somebody that's like going through their religious resurgence.
Put your hand
my bad.
Shaking the table. Put your hand
going through their
in front of your face.
going through their religious resurgence, right? While addressing all these different things and trying to make song for the actual people that need it. Whether it's Song for Junkies, like I think is one of her songs on that album, but I think is a better way. Whereas
it's a better way than Dee-1's way.
Dee-1's way, while you're talking to them, a lot of them will take what you're doing as a threat because you're talking to me aggressively on a track.
Yeah, so you're telling me what to do instead of sort of helping me find a way to do it differently.
Yeah, and a lot of them.
I didn't ask you for you to tell me what to do.
But also, they won't. Some of them won't even have the conversation, right?
Yeah, because why should I? It's much easier to keep my life this way.
Yeah. And I think that's where I understand his passion in the song and understand the passion of Like Call It Like It Is. I mean, I did feel like, you know, he did a lot of like trigger things, right?
Same.
Where it was in terms of like calling people kind of coons a bit. It's kind of like the thing, like you act all some in front of the white man, like, and that's normally like another triggering.
Yeah, if you go to work, you're all like happy and clean, but when you're at home, you're different, or you're in the streets, you're different. I think that's based off of white supremacy culture, though. You know what I mean? Because there's no way that black folks can show up and be them and expect it to be good. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean like black folks in the workforce like showing up late or, you know what I mean, or cursing at customers and things like that nature. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like you can legit like wear your hair a certain way you can't wear your hair a certain way at work.
Right. And I do understand that, but it's kind of like, okay, when you present some of these things, right? Have we created an industry where that's safe for people to be more themselves? Are there more jobs where people can be themselves or be in their full blackness in that way?
No.
And a lot of times, like the things that he's discussing, like, again, it's difficult. You have to kind of get through the muck and the obstacles and like when you're standing on something or whatever it is. But a lot of the things that he's addressing, because this is like this is the Soldier, the Reebok Soldier version of the response, because it's more like, yeah, y'all out here wilding.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so I hear your point. It's almost like pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yes, yeah, without
saying it. And I get the balancing of what he's saying, that we don't have to choose certain parts of our lives, especially the rappers.
Yeah.
Right? The artists, the people that made it do not have to choose to continue to say these things in the way that they say them. I think they're speaking to an audience that can only hear one message because of the conditions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think if Dee-1 wants to make a change, and this is not a knock to Dee-1, like I love his music. I've been watching him and listening to him and putting his music on the radio since the blog days. What I think Dee-1 should focus on is how can you tell us how to sort of circumvent or escape the culture of racism, the culture of our environment, beyond just telling us not to talk this way or do these things. Because humans are creatures of habit, right?
Right.
You put us in an environment, we're conditioned to make this all that we know. And until you have different experiences, which takes resources.
Yeah.
Until you have different experiences and have the resources to have different experiences, you can't be different. or it's difficult to be different, right? Like our education in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you and I both have college educated families, right? Which is one of the resources that allowed us to take a step forward. Not everybody has that, and so I think Dee-1 should talk about the condition of the environment, more so the people that are responding to the environment itself.
And I also think he does it in his interviews. So he'll talk about, how he was a middle school teacher, how he's a current college professor, how he's taught classes at Harvard, and like he even did a thing with artists in New Orleans to like have a conversation and a dialogue, right? Mm-hmm. I think he falls into like almost that Rick Ross thing, because like it kind of falls into the turkey thing. Like, we know what you're doing over here, but is the music a lot of times reflecting that, right?
Right.
And I get, you got to have warriors and people that stand on the soapbox. You do have to have them, right?
Oh, my bad.
Wait a minute. hey. Oh, man, so many inside jokes. But listen, it's so hard, I think, to find that balance. I mean, I often find that balance because I'm always going at those rappers as well. Mm-hmm.
Are you really?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because it doesn't come off that way.
So the proverbial rapper on any, like, so I said, I see him trying to build an image and it's based off being gimmicks. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always talking to the whole to that area, and I guess I've done a good job, if it wasn't noticed, of like just letting my life be more of the front piece of that.
Yeah. So this is one way that, and I want to give Dee-1 his credit, this is one way that Dee-1 does call out the environment. Yeah. He talks about the labels that pay people to reinforce that environment.
Yes.
And so he does critique the fact that the media landscape, the mouth clicks, the media landscape, the record labels that put money behind selling toxicity.
Yes.
And that is a great way to continue to have the conversation. Yeah. But I also believe that he should teach people how to be independent, not just independent in music, but independent in life, because the only way that you can actually get out of that is to circumvent the system and get the resources, right? So whether that is education, whether that is even beyond education, whether that is credit, whether that is ownership and financial literacy, all of those things can help you get out of that situation and into a better place.
And I also think that like him going specifically, almost requesting the artist to not be like Drake, and not have this toxicness in your message, while it's a good shout, it's not something that I think is going to immediately happen, and it's definitely not going to happen away if a rapper feels challenged. Yeah. Because then they're just going to act off of their instincts and treat you, even though you say at the end of it, like the line about, if y'all coming for me, I'm coming through all your hoods with prayer. Mm-hmm. Like I might not even get to that part.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, if you come to my hood with prayer, like what makes you think I'm going to receive it?
Especially when I'm already on the defensive about these things, and when you're like coming to me about my music or coming to me about my life, because a lot of people are very protective over their traumas. Yeah. Whether it's trauma bonded things that like, this is the only way I knew how to survive and all this other stuff. I am not as inclined to come to a positive space if this is the energy. Yeah. And I also believe that in the Black community, or at least in hip hop culture, we've been praying for years. You know what I mean? We're not absent out from the church, in my opinion. Like we're not, like, for the most part, we're not
skipping church on Sundays for, you know what I mean? Like, even some of the biggest artists in the world are not obfuscating their connection to their faith. And because of that, it's beyond just prayer. It's into action.
Yeah.
And action means that, are you teaching people how to like be better? Are you teaching people how to seek out resources in order for them to again escape their environment?
Yeah, and I just wonder what will be the ramifications of the song. And like, I'm kind of more inclined to believe that Kendrick does have an album coming, because seeing that more people saw this as they lean to your opinion on the song, which I'm kind of like siding with now, that it had nothing to do with the beef. It was just an observation of the reason that this was easy was because this is where these type of things needed to be placed anyway.
Right.
And as a whole, we need to try and like really walk with the positivity that we can walk with to change our environments, to change the things around us, to form a community that isn't based off of numbing the pain or trying to act like it doesn't exist.
Right. We need more examples in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But we know that the industry does not populate those examples.
No.
Yeah. So you said speaking of
Well, speaking of doing things positively,
yeah.
let's do what, I mean, it might not become a segment, but we wanted to just do like a little indie review.
Yeah.
Of Deondre Tyree's new project, Nobody Cares.
Yeah, so it's available on Bandcamp. Deondre is from Wilmington, Delaware. We first connected on a song that we did, Nothing Extra, a few years ago, and that was a great connection. He's a dope independent artist, connects with dope producers, and his lyrical ability is all the way there. So we're gonna play a little bit of the intro song. So Nobody Cares intros, produced by the Goodfellas, and we'll play a few seconds and then just kind of share what we think about a few words about the entire project, and then we'll kind of leave that link down in the description. So here we go with Nobody Cares, the intro by Deondre Tyree.
Trapping ain't dead, little homie, get your money up. Niggas still broke, man, I tell him get your money up. Ain't a dang thing changed, bout to run it up. Ain't a dang thing changed, bout to run it up. Trapping ain't dead, trapping ain't dead. Trapping ain't dead, trapping ain't dead. Ain't a dang thing changed, bout to run it up. Windows down, music loud, counting hundreds up. Trapping ain't dead, I just had to switch the hustle. Everything legal, had to get it off the muscle. Watch the money down so the feds can't touch you. Ayy, when you getting bins, all these women wanna love you. Got a chick named Keisha, a chick named Kanisha. Can't forget my Tuesday, I think her name Tamika. Music down, shake the block from the speakers. Cherry red whip, insurance highs, Wiz Khalifa. Talk is cheap, I hear they saying a lot. Things been on my mind, so I've been praying a lot. Give a person an inch and they gon' try to take a mile. It's wild, part of the reason I don't even crack a smile. Before you make the move, suggest you think twice. 20 seconds of anger cost you 20 years of life. Nigga, trapping ain't dead, I've been grinding all my life. About to run it up, had to get the money right, Trapping ain't dead, little homie, get your money up. Niggas still broke, man, I tell him get your money up.
Yeah, and that is the homie Deondre Tyree, Nobody Cares intro off of his album, Nobody Cares, a short story by Deondre Tyree. So, again, the link will be down in the description for his Bandcamp album. We suggest that you go and download it from there, that he has the most support, and listen to it on YouTube as your streaming service.
Yeah, I enjoyed that song because I think there's a lot of positivity packed into it.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't expect because of how trapping is perceived. And I think like it's more so I'm getting it off the strength. I'm working it off the muscle and everything else. And I think that that's an excellent positive message to kind of have while also bringing you in with terminologies that you are used to.
Yeah, the way it comes off is like this is hard work for me.
Yeah.
And I'm waking up every day in order to get this. And so trapping ain't dead in the sense of I'm a hustler and I'm gonna make sure that I get it. So yeah, I can hear that positive message too.
You a hustler,
homie. And speaking of, like, we were kind of mentioning about Deondre's tone. Mm-hmm. I hear a little bit of help me,
Young Chris
and Cassidy, right? In his vocal tone. I love the way the mix sounds. It sounds really professional. And I love the way that the vocals are mixed as well.
Yeah. Artwork is also dope for the album, which you want to have a nice little eye catcher thing for people. I think it sets up a really nice thematic mixtape kind of thing. It gave me old mood music 2 ish vibes.
He's watching the city burn.
DJ Clue era. Yeah.
As the moon is on the full moon.
Yeah, and it's just like nobody cares.
Right.
So I appreciate that. And then honorable mention of a song that I really, really enjoy on here is Asking Why.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like that.
I also like Asking Why. And so shout out to you, Deondre. Like I want to hear more. I want to hear also more depth in his voice, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to see him pick up the cadence a little bit. But nonetheless, this is great work. So good job, my dude.
Salute.
Yeah.
But anyway, we appreciate y'all for joining us on this episode. What did y'all think about Lecrae and Dee-1's responses? Leave that down in the comments. Thank you again for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate all the love that got shown on our video last week. Continue to show that love. Share this with somebody if you think it's going to be something that's beneficial for them.
Yeah, and get our watch time up.
Yeah.
Watch these videos for longer if you enjoy them. Don't skip through. Don't turn it off too early. Just don't leave YouTube. Keep watching, and we'll continue to put links to the music down in the description.
And thank you guys. We'll see you next week. A 1 and a 2, and peace.